investigation. So we will get straight to it and talk about it. First, let's talk about the reason why. Let's talk about the reason why we are actually saying we need to reach a point where we need to do instant investigation. This is the same reason why yesterday we were actually saying the reason why we need to do what we call HIRA or a risk assessment, right? The reason why we would want to do a risk assessment, incident investigation, there are many reasons, of course, but let's take through our slides why uh, we we should learn this. What we are going to learn today, we are going to find that how do we carry out investigations in a systematic manner? How do we carry out investigations in a systematic manner? We are also going to learn how to complete necessary documentation for investigations. We are also going to be able to understand the reason for investigations altogether, right? Moving on to the next thing, what is the rationale? What is the rationale, or why do we actually have to do incident investigation? Good people, we do incident investigation for many reasons, right? For many reasons. And us as SHIREPs, we do instant investigation because by law, we are actually forced to do so, right? One of the laws or one of the parts of the law is when we go to section 18 there, where it tells us the duties and the functions of occupational health and safety reps. So as a she rep, wherever you are, you need to understand that it is part and parcel of your function to be one of those people who are going to be doing what we call incident investigation. You are also going to be part and parcel of the team that are going to investigate certain incidents that will happen. Right. Another reason is that we do have financial losses when an incident takes place. If a person is hurt, if a person is injured, if a particular equipment is damaged, that makes up what we call an incident. And every incident attracts some kind of financial loss. So people get to lose money, people get to use time. We also do instant investigation because we are fighting it not to happen again. So we are preventing recurrence, right? You wouldn't expect that if one of your customers fell in your shop because there was a wet floor. We can't expect another customer to pass by there, fall again. We can't expect another customer to follow next day and fall again, because you would have done your incident investigation and you would have found out that the problem why the floor is wet, and then you would have fixed it, right? So my good people, that is the rationale why we or why do we have to end up doing incident investigations. Another, of course, reason is want to find out to what extent our property has been broken, to what extent has our property been damaged. So you need to get that out of the way. Another thing, of course, when we do instant investigation, we are checking environmental damage and etc. Of course, I started with legislation where I said that we are forced to actually do instant investigation because of the Act. Occupational Health and Safety Act, it does instruct us on Section 8, it does instruct us on Section 18, it also does instruct us from Section 24, where it gives us a list of incidents that needs to be reported. And for us to be able to report properly, we need to have done proper investigations, right? So for those who have just joined us, ladies and gentlemen, you are all welcome. We are discussing the rationale or the reasons why we should be performing incident investigation. And we have just discussed a few here. If we are to talk about the legislation in Occupational Health and Safety Act, it does indicate that there are certain incidences that needs to be reported. Just to give a summary, if there is death, or if there is a likelihood that somebody is going to die, if there is unconsciousness, if there's loss of limb or parts of that, or there is permanent or physical damage to a particular person and so, or if a person is going to be sick for more than 14 days, or if a person is unable to continue to actually work continuously. So that is when we'll then actually bring in this idea where we need to do incident investigation. Okay, moving on, we do have a different incident, and on our first day when we met, we did define, or we did try to make some kind of difference between an incident and an accident, and we did agree that if it is an incident, we are talking about an unplanned event that results in maybe two or more hazards meeting, and it might actually be unfavorable in most cases. It is undesired in most cases. So that becomes an incident. And then we then said incident is an occurrence of that particular undesired event, right? So it is the occurrence of that particular unplanned, undesired event. All right. However, it can extend to become an accident or accident, depending on which one you want to use. If it's going to be an accident, it basically means that the incident has actually escalated to end up having a damage on property, or injury, or illness, or death of a human being, right? So it's just a matter of you being able to make those to draw a line between what we call an incident and what we call an accident. But at the end of the day, is actually the fact that not all incidents result in accident, but we should know that all accidents are incidences. Okay. Now let's move on. Now that we have clarified that, I would want us to talk about something that we call dominoes, right? I am going just to quickly check here if I can get a domino effect situation here, so that people can understand what I am going to be talking about. We are going to be talking about dominoes, and an example of a domino, is going to pop up on your screen just now, so that we can be able to use that as an example of domino effect there. Just a second, let me quickly project it to you so that we can be able to see domino effect there. In front of is an example of a video showing dominoes, right? It's an example of a video showing dominoes that I've just taken from YouTube, right? You can see this game, or this type of a game. It's quite nice, but to explain it further than this, it basically you putting on certain uh, items, right, that can hit each other, and when they hit each other, they start falling. Let's look at this in a slow motion, right? So this is exactly what we call dominoes that are falling. These are dominoes that are falling, right? So I'll stop projecting it and go back to our normal slide there. So what we were seeing there, these are dominoes that are falling, right? And when we refer to dominoes falling, we can then take an idea from these dominoes and bring it to real life situation. When we are in real life situations, we can argue and say, for something to take place, it goes through phases, right? And phase one is the reason, or is the first domino that is going to push the next domino for it to fall. And once this has happened, the effect becomes continuous, right? So I would want to bring this to people there to say, but when we get problems in our lives, right? When we get problems in our lives, we tend to start attacking the problem or start trying to solve the problem without taking our time to go back and find out what could be the cause. I was telling students in the morning that most of the times when you have headache or when you are going through a phase where you have got headache, we don't usually look for the causes of this headache. Instead, we would want to fight the headache, right? Which is fair because that will be the pain, so you want to fight the pain. But the reality is that you need to go back and find out what could have caused that particular pain. Even when we are faced with problems at homes, at work, or wherever, we tend to quickly look into the problem as the end result. And we don't want to look at the beginning to say, where did the problem start from? Right? I also explained at some point, I said, look, if we to check performance of a person on final examination, it is reflected by your performance from day one when you entered that particular course. Hence, if you are going to fail, your teacher or your instructor need to be able to see you earlier. Now, let's bring this whole idea or this analogy that I've just used back to our issue of today, because remember, today we are talking about this element where we said it's instant investigation. When an incident has taken place, there are a lot of people who are interested here, whom we call stakeholders. And each stakeholder here has got a particular or a set of interest in that particular incident. For instance, if a house burns down, right? We are the people in the who uses the house. We would want to know, why did it burn down, how did it burn down, and what was the causes to that. We would also have people like insurance coming in to investigate how, why, and all those questions. We would also have probably the police also coming to investigate. We would also have the fire department also coming to investigate. So a small thing or a big thing might happen at your company, and several people or several departments might want to come in and check why and how a particular situation happened. So today, good people, we are talking about incident, and we are saying when an incident takes place, what should you look at first? So there are many methods that you can use when you are investigating. There is the other one that is called fishbone technique. There is also the other one that is called five whys technique. There is this one that we are going to talk about, Tina, which is called domino effect. We are going to talk about what? Domino effect. So I'm going to project our window back and go and talk about domino number one. Domino number one, right? So when we go to domino number one, we would want to see what exactly is domino. Right. Let me first explain what a domino effect or a domino is a thing say. We are saying that when an incident takes place, it actually moves in a model, or it moves in such a way that it is in bits and pieces. Let's look at the first domino. The first domino that you should look at is that there is lack. That's the first effect, right? The first effect is the right. So if there is lack of management control, then we are bound to have issues here. We are bound to have issues here. So safety is like management. Safety is actually managed, right? So managed. What is management? Management, you need to do planning, you need to do organizing, you need to do your coordinating, you need to do controlling, right? So not doing all these things, then your performance is gonna go down, right? Now, when an incident takes place, I'm gonna give you where we are going to talk about somebody who was working at heights. Somebody was working at heights and then falls from that place where he's working, and boom, he's on the floor. Either he is suffering serious injuries and stuff. Okay, that's the picture that I wanted to paint on you. This person's incident with what exactly happened. All right. So using the domino effect, basically now we are going to make it a point that we first have to focus the issue of lack of management control. Because when there is no health and safety management system in place, then the health and safety management system should be in place. And if we go to the Act does stipulate straight away in Section 7 that companies, once you have got 4, 5, 6 employees or more, you definitely need to what to put in what we call health and safety policy. So you are not going to be able to continue without a policy that is practiced for the sake of running occupational health and safety. If the excuse me, if the company does not have standards and procedures to manage the system, we are also going to be in trouble, right? If the company does not have ways where it can actually find ways of compliance, are we complying with these standard and procedures? The problem. If there are no any other way where we are regularly evaluating general occupational health and safety performance, then we are going to be having a problem. So, all in all, what is my argument here when we're using domino number one? We are saying that most of the times when we say incident has taken place, we tend to focus on the incident that this person has fallen from fourth floor and has landed down here and his leg is broken. We do not go back and ask ourselves, but why and how did he fall? One of the reasons would be lack of management control. It means management did not put proper safety control measures to make sure that this particular incident does not occur. All right. Let's move there and check what could be on domino effect number two, right? Domino effect number two. So we proceed there. On domino effect number two, we are expecting to talk about basic causes. Now that we have established that these now that we have established that these individuals, right? Once we have established that these individuals that are involved in this incident, right? I think I should actually not read these comments because they are actually uh, taking my attention here. All right, I'll just hide them and just look at participants who are in. Okay, moving on. Domino number two or domino effect number two. It basically means that we are saying the first uh, block has hit the second block, and the second block has broken down, right? And as it is breaking down, it's gonna hit the third block, which is domino effect number three, and so on and so on. So it is a continuous thing. So when you are investigating any matter in incident investigation, try by all means to use domino effects. So with domino effect, you go back to domino number one, which is the first block is management, right? Let me not move here to domino effect number two and go back to domino effect number one or to domino number one and try to bring in the idea about families because I love to teach people also relating to situations that are in community or situations that are at home, right? We have got a truth that we might run away from as parents, right? Or as human beings, that we are always a result of what parents are doing to the kids. You get it? So if a kid is going to be wild, if a kid is going to be out of the line, if a kid is going to be good, if a kid is going to prosper in life and become somebody, there is a huge number of things that are so attributable to the parents themselves. It's a truth that we might run away from, but that's exactly how it is. So in most cases, we tend to start focusing on blaming the kid alone. We forget that we should blame the kid together with the parents as well, because they do have effects on that, because that's the domino effect. It basically means it starts from the parent, and then it hits the kid, and it will hit the kids, and you to continue like that. Hence, it's called domino effect. So moving on to the next domino, we are going to talk about domino number 2, which talks about the basic causes, right? Now, the basic causes of an incident are divided into what? Into two, right? They are divided into two. So we do have one side, these are personal factors, right? Personal factors are personal because we are referring to the fact that they 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 are focused on the human being himself, right? They are focused on the human being themselves there, who are actually the ones who are involved in the particular incident, right? So there is the personal effect, and then there's a job factor. The job factor refers to the job itself. But before we go to the job factor, let's look into the personal factors. The personal factors, where is my slide now? The personal factors, I'll project them. There they are, right? So when we talk about the personal factors, we are referring to the factors that relate to the person himself. So as a she rep, where you are, you would want to go and do some of your checkings as you are doing investigating. One of the checkings here would be, but does this person lack knowledge or skill in his or her job, right? So that's one of the causes that can be of personal matter. You gave me a job to go and do something, and I don't have training. Hence, it's very important that from time to time we send our people for training. Hence, it's very important that from time to time the Occupational Health and Safety Act keeps on referring to certain people as competent person. If you remember very well, it continues to say what? Competent person. It is saying so because it is trying to remind us that when we are using people, let's try by all means to use competent people who are knowledgeable and skillful. In the process, then those people will not have personal factors that will contribute to injuries, death, or illnesses, or generally incidences, right? Moving on, we do have improper attitude or motivation. Some people are not properly motivated at their workplace. Some people have just bad attitude generally. They were born like that. What can we say, right? So this can also be a factor that can actually affect or push you to an extent where you might not end up performing your job properly. And in the process of showing attitude or showing dissatisfaction in a job or showing that you are not well motivated, in the process you might end up actually causing incidents and stuff. So as an investigator of an incident, also understand that this is a what? A possibility. It is a possibility. All right. Some people also go through mental stressors. Mental stressors, bafethu, abantu bayagowa emhlabeni. People are going through a lot in life there. Mentally, people are not stable. So you would see that there are people who have got mental stresses, and sometimes it can even be physical stresses. We are born. Sometimes it can even be impaired mental capacity. You are no longer thinking properly. You are no longer thinking well because of certain issues. Sometimes you are now physically unsuitable, right? You are now physically unsuitable, which means you are no longer strong enough to handle that particular job. So if you can check this list of examples of personal factors, can be a contributor to an incident. Therefore, when you are investigating these instances, make sure that you do target areas such as these ones. All right. Let's then move on to the next part, or to the other part, where we said that other than personal factors, there will be job factors, and job factors are those that have got everything to do with what, with the job, right? So they relate to the organizational environment generally at your workplace. All right, let's get the examples of such. We do have places where there is leadership or supervision problems, right? So your leaders, your supervisors are sometimes people who might actually force you to end up finding yourself involved in incidences. Sometimes it might be engineering factors, which means there is defects in the engineering process, or the process altogether is not properly, or that maintenance is something that you guys don't do, or it's what that is being done. For example, when we talk about ESCOM, every now and then they tell us that we are going through load shedding because of incidences such as maintenance. Hard to believe, but that's what they say, right? At some point, it's because of the tools and the equipment that we're using, or sometimes it can be poor or no planning at all. Sometimes it also can be poor or no work standard at all that can cause these instances. Or in some cases, it's wear and tear, or abuse and misuse of equipment at the workplace altogether, right? So these are factors that are at domino number two, because domino number two is made up of what? Of two issues here. Some of the factors can be job factors. Some of the factors can be what we call personal factors. Good people, if we are still moving, let's move together. We now move on to the next effect, right? Which is domino number three. Domino number three. So with domino number three, what is there? We are saying that at some point, it once domino number one, which talked about management, has pushed personal factors, which is domino number two, and job factors, it can also then result in unsafe acts or unsafe conditions. So you will see Uguti, this is actually a continuation. It is actually a continuation. That's that of management. Second, number two is personal and job factors. Now we are on domino effect number three, which talks about unsafe acts and unsafe conditions. Right. Let's move on there, and get to see which ones are these that we can say unsafe acts, right? Unsafe acts. All right. Let me also move my thing and check which ones are. We talk of unsafe acts. These are unsafe acts, people. People sometimes at work can actually operate without authority, operate machinery, operate this and that without what? Without a proper authority. And in that instances, we might end up having to talk, because you are at a place which is unauthorized, right? Sometimes people like to do horseplay, which is playing or fooling around with equipment at work, or fooling around with equipment that is meant to be actually a thing. I think if you read back to section, was it section 15, where it said duty not to interfere. People love to play with uh, equipment that is meant for safety, right? So you would see people maybe playing with a forklift. You have seen people playing with plant. We have seen people playing with grinders. We have seen people playing with very important things that they're not supposed to be playing with. Right. All right. Next to this one, we are going to talk about failure to secure. Some people have issues where they fail to secure. Where what? If they are failing to secure, or to warn somebody to say, guys, uh, uh, assist here by not getting into this place because there is a warning that it says do not enter. But if we are unable to actually do that, because we are unable to warn, we are unable to secure, that's where the problem is. Right? Where are we now, ladies and gentlemen? We are at a point where we talk about these unsafe acts. Ne? Some people, they like to operate at unsafe speed. Examples of such can be when people are driving, right? Sometimes people drive at a very high speed, which becomes very difficult for you to operate or to remain safe, right? We also have situations where people end up making safety devices that are meant to actually save people's lives, right? They actually make them very easy, uneasy or difficult. And sometimes at work you are using defective equipment. So on domino effect number 3, we are talking about acts that can actually be logs, be just a second. Charger is in that room. Right. Okay, just a second. Let's continue. Let's continue, good people. Let's continue, good people. Right. Let's move on to another reason that could be a thing. Unsafe acts will can be a situation whereby people are not using proper protective equipment. Sometimes it can be people being in unsafe positions. Sometimes it can be improper loading. So, good people, if I would list them all, we could spend the whole day. Let's move on to the next slide and see what does it have in place for us. Unsafe conditions. Right. We're trying to reconnect here. Right, I'm back. Like I'm back with a bang. All right, let me project this first and then we continue with people. Where were we actually? All right, let's wind up. Let's wind up this part so that we can quickly get right. We were on domino effect where we were talking about factors that are actually related to what? To unsafe conditions, right? To unsafe conditions. So what we were talking about before we got a hiccup in terms of network, unsafe acts or unsafe conditions that actually make up domino effect number 3. So remember our presentation of dominoes that they go in blocks. If you hit the first one, it will hit the second one, it will hit the third one. Right now we are on the third one, which is about to then cause the incident itself. So incident is basically something that happens on domino number 4, because you would have actually analyzed domino 1, domino 2, domino 3, only to reach at an incident which is domino number 4, right? So unsafe conditions, these are some of the examples. We can talk about no machine guards, right? I remember on the first day or second when I was the process where most people end up removing safety guards on a grinder or something like that, right? Or sometimes it's inadequate machine guards when you are dealing with machines and people are not guarding properly on that, and it will result in incidences. So these are unsafe conditions, right? Sometimes it can be failure to provide proper PPE, right? People are not provided with proper PPE. They are given a wrong PPEs, and then at that particular moment would then say we are having an unsafe condition. Okay, another thing again, good people, is that inadequate ventilation. I think this is straightforward. You are working at a place where there is no enough aeration, there is no enough air coming in and out, therefore you end up not being able to breathe properly. People who works underground in mines, people who works in pipes, people who works in trenches, they will tell you that these are places that are called confined spaces. Confined spaces will force you not to breathe properly and you end up kulega, or basically you are fainting in English, right? Poor housekeeping can also be a condition that can cause these problems. Poor housekeeping, people, we are referring to how you keep the tools and other things that you are using, right? So if you are unable to properly take care of your tools, then you have got issues, right? For instance, if I go back to the example that I used at the beginning of our chat, I spoke about a person who has fallen, who was working at heights and he has fallen down. If we talk about poor housekeeping for this person, you would see that we are referring to tools. He or she went with tools up there and did not properly put them next to him in a manner that will avoid him from being tripped or end up slipping or sliding and end up falling, right? Some of these methods could be you as a safety person or as a she rep advising that people, the company must buy people that tool belt, that belt or a vest, a tool vest, right? Where they can wear it on their bodies and then they start putting tools on these vests or on these what belts, right? So that they can be able to just draw out a hammer, use it, draw out this, use it, and they won't be falling, right? But if you would put them in a position where these tools are not properly kept or are not properly put in a good housekeeping manner, then we have issues where we would report people falling and stuff like that. But people, let's move on. We can even talk about stuff such as um, clustering, congestion, defective equipment, and so on. Let's then move on to domino effect number 4, where we talk about the incident itself. So, from what we have learned when we are using this method, which is called domino effect method, what we are actually learning, good people, is that um, a incident is not actually the first thing you should be investigating or looking at when you are investigating, right? This actually shows you that there are a lot of things that need to be checked, which is domino 1, domino 2, domino 3, before reaching to domino number 4, right? How does this actually assist us in instant investigation? It assists us not to rush into conclusions. That's the advantage of this one, because most of the time you would just look at the incident and look at the person who has fallen, or look at the person who is involved in an accident or incident, and we actually conclude that this could be what happened, but only to realize that it goes backwards. It really goes backwards, right? It really goes backwards and start from management controls. Do we have proper management controls? Then it moves on to say, what did we put as an element, Tina, as humans, which is your personal factors there and the job factors. And you go to number 3, which is the conditions or the acts that are led by our factors. Then number 4, the incident itself. Now, on the fourth incident, you are now talking about on fourth domino, you are not talking about incident itself, and you would want to know that how did we reach at this point of no return. All right, that's where you would want to find out how did we actually reach at this point of what, of no return. Here now, you are now at the scene where the incident has happened. You would want to probably use all those whys, how, who, and stuff like that for you to collect data, to collect information, to collect everything. Okay. You would want to also have your equipment that will make it easier for you to be able to collect what information. You like a pen, you would like to have a notepad, you would like to have your phone so that you can be able to use its camera. You would also want to have your phone so that you can use its recording devices. And you then need to collect evidence by taking pictures, drawing sketches of the incident, right? And also involving witnesses who are people who have got a first-hand encounter of what happened. So you would want also to interview witnesses. When you are interviewing witness, it is important to note that try by all means to get quite a number if it's possible. Let's say three people witnessed the occasion or the incident. Try to collect all of them and get their accounts or get their what information in terms of the issue. We are doing so that we can have both versions and all the versions. Imagine if you are only going to be asking a group of few Nyana people or one or so, you might have the wrong information altogether, right? Okay, now that we have talked about the domino effect number four, we would then move on to number five, where you would want to determine the injury or the damage or to what extent this incident, right? So here you are actually worried about the veracity extent has this injury or I mean incident has it gone, right? Here you would want to out what exactly has happened, right? Is a person hurt? Is a person dead? And so on. But in most cases, you'll be knowing that already, right? Moving on to the last domino, which is the last piece. We have got six dominoes here. So the last piece now talks about your cost, right? This one talks about what? It talks about the cost, right? So you would want to sit down now and find out what are the costs that are relating to this incident that has just taken place, right? So to wind it up, my good people, to wind it up, since we are doing SHIREP, we wouldn't go for more or other methods. This is a good method that SHIREPs can be able to use when they are doing incident investigation. It is called domino effect. So if my teaching today did not explain it properly, when you get a chance, just Google it. Just Google it on your phone there or on wherever, and just find out what does it relate, even if it's not in the issue of safety. It can also be used in risk management. It can also be used in other operations management and stuff. So, in a nutshell, good people, we're talking about incident investigation, which is a very important tool for you, SHIREPs, because we use information that we get from incident investigation, we take it back to uh, HIRA, right? Whatever you have found in incident investigation can also be a very important input when it comes to what we need when we are performing this thing that you call HIRA, which we spoke about yesterday, which is risk assessment. So if you are performing risk assessment, at some point you might want to get information that is from incident investigations, because people who have investigated something from all these dominoes, you realize that we came up with a lot of information. This information we are getting can be very important when you are doing risk assessment altogether, right? It also feeds into the act, because the act does need us to be able to inform or to have a duty to inform. Therefore, let's inform our employees. Ladies and gentlemen, I should say this comes to the end of our training, our 4-day training, right? SHIREP course is usually a 1-day training, but because we are only meeting for an hour, so it ended up being a 4-day training, right? Some people attended face to face, some people attended online as you are doing. Some people were used with Google. Today we decided to say, let's bring it live on YouTube Studio so that you can also get used to say you are going to be meeting us here, Right. Good people, since you are now subscribers of this channel, every lunchtime, every day, there is going to be some kind of a presentation that comes in through this channel. So always stay tuned and also share it with other people so that they can know that there is a channel that is dedicated by Lusatech Training Academy to teach people whether you are registered or not registered. What you just need to do, make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you can always get more info about it. Right. Let me now start answering questions. So what you can do wherever you are, you can start asking questions by typing them there. I'm gonna start with the question Ega Muzi Wetu. Right. It says, good day, just one question. We have 3 assignment or assessments to do and one final assessment tomorrow. Am I correct? And of course, 4-2 is answering and say, I think so. And that's correct. Yes, you are correct there. You have already covered, not till I'm coming to you. We have already covered assignment 1 on day 1, assignment 2 on day 2, assignment 3 on day 3. Today there is no any assignment altogether. It's the final that is starting tomorrow. At midnight today, at 12 o'clock midnight, the test is gonna open. So if you are up at night, you can start doing it, or you can wait and do it in the morning, or you can do it in the afternoon, or you can do it in the evening until also 12 o'clock midnight the next day. So it's open for 24 hours. However, you can do it 3 times. You have got 3 chances like any other assessment. We have not changed that, right? It has got 40 questions, which is still multiple choice questions. So it's not that difficult, my good people. I hope you are answered. Then there is a question from Notile who says, will we graduate? When it comes to graduation, Buffet, I should first define what graduation is, right? Graduation is a celebration that you have achieved a particular milestone in education. And so anyone can graduate if you have learned at Lusatech, to be very frank. Anybody who has learned at Lusatech, if you have attended a course at Lusatech and you have passed it, you are allowed to graduate. So when we advertise that our students, here is the date for graduation, and these are the conditions for graduation, feel free to be part and parcel of that graduation. Number one. Number two, I should also explain that graduations are not a compulsory at Lusatech. So if you feel what you do not want to be part and parcel of graduation, you are exempted, no problem. You can also not attend. So, Notile, you are welcome to graduate with others on the specific dates that our admin is going to announce. And trust me, the information is going to reach to you because you are following us on all social media. Angithi sishilo ukuthi go there and start following us so you will be able to get it. Now the other question says, how will we receive our certificate after we have passed all the assignment? Pablo, very good question there. Very good question there. Let me also clarify the issue of certificates here. Right. People are gonna receive. People are gonna receive via emails, right? People are going to receive via emails what we call statement of results. People are going to receive via emails what we call statement of results. Get me very well, and I'm going to repeat for the third time. People are going to get via emails Monday, Tuesday, up to Thursday next week. You will be receiving emails with your statement of results. You are free to print that statement of result and use it the way you want to use it. Then when it comes to certificates now, a certificate needs to be requested. A person request a certificate. Now, when you request a certificate, people, there are costs involved. There are costs involved when it comes to requesting a certificate. Number one, there is printing. Number two, there is couriering, which is sending you the certificate. The certificate is never digital. We don't give digital certificate. We only give what we call statement of results as digital. If you want our certificate, it has to be printed and sent to you. So when that is demanded, it basically comes at a particular cost, right? It comes at a particular cost, and it's not only for you here at SHIREP, it's a cost for every learner who is learning at Lusatech. If you have finished your training, you are then supposed to request your certificate. And when you request your certificate, it's supposed to be couriered to your place. And this attracts a figure of 300 Rand. It attracts a figure of 300 Rand for you to be able to request a certificate and get it available to you. When you request a certificate, the day you request your certificate, it takes 3 to 5 days for it to come to where you are. 3 to 5 days. 3 to 5 days. Let me also type that so that people will understand it. Right? I also explained earlier on that all the people who have studied at Lusatech, for the fact that you have studied for Lusatech, whether it was a free course or a paid course, you qualify for discounts. So every time when you are registering a new course or any other course, please ask for a discount and say, hey, I am a student from Lusatech. Can I get a discount? It will be very important. Another thing again is that when you refer a friend, when you refer somebody, you also get 100 Rand thank you. You get 100 Rand thank you, right? 100 Rand thank you. So we are going to be using a courier, right? For Bodoza. If you decide that you want us to use Pexi, we will try to use Pexi for you. We will try to use Pexi for you. All right, good people. I think I've answered most of the question, and it's 1:58. It's time for me to sign out. More questions, let's take them to our learning platform. You know where to do discussions on it. Let's take questions to our learning platform. From here, I am going to log in and wait for your questions there. So let's take our questions back to our learning platform. We all know our learning platform. Let me just type it in case people have forgotten where do we meet? We meet here, Bafet. This is where we meet at lusatech.coza/hub. Right. Okay. Thank you very much, good people, for attending. Let's be meeting soon.